Goodness. All right. You good? Everybody can see that?
We can see your slide, yes.
Oh my goodness, praise Jesus. Okay.
We have six.
Okay. Don't know how to get rid of that. There we go. All right. Okay. So this is a civilian response course for, they used to call it CRAZE, which was an acronym for Civilian Response to an Active Shooter Event. They no longer call them shooter events because not all of these occur with people actively shooting. A lot of times they are using knives, they're using blunt objects, they're even using vehicles. So fortunately, changing it to crack didn't have a very good response with the focus group, civilian response to active killing events. So they kept it with CRAZE, as we have been told. Let's see. So active attack events. So definition, okay, of an active attack event is simply attempted mass murder. Their intent is to try to get the highest number of body count. That's those who have not taken their own lives, doing the research, doing the interviews, post-crime interviews, once they've been spoken to by psychologists and investigators. One kind of thing that seems to be consistent with these people is they want to get the highest body count. They want to be known as the one who did the most damage. Unfortunately, that's what gets them going. There is not actually a real profile of these people. It's very, very roundabout. A lot of times they do have, though, the Avenger mindset, and some will obviously broadcast that they plan to do this. They'll put things out on social media. They'll leave little hints to coworkers if it's a workplace related, or they'll say things in schools if it's school related and whatnot. Some of the risk factors include history of violence, exposure to violence, substance abuse and dependence, mental illness plays a large part, and history of suicidality, a desire to want to die themselves. Stalking, harassing, threatening behavior, negative family dynamics and support system isolation and stability, and other kinds of concerns. A lot of times when you have like the stalking, harassing, threatening behavior, initially the target of somebody's anger could be one particular individual. However, again, the mindset is when I'm going to go there, if I'm going to kill one person, I'm going to take them all out. Seems to be kind of a consistency. So here from 2000, each of these blops here, as you'll see, show active killing events that have occurred. And this is over a period of several years. You'll see which ones are related to guns, knives, which cars are being used. If you guys remember, Ohio State University had the one guy who had drove a box truck and into the university and was striking people on the campus and was taken out by one of the campus police officers. This was just a few years ago that actually occurred. As this continues on, you'll see now, most of you, I'm pretty sure, have not heard of all of these that are going on. You only hear about the high body count numbers. You hear about the school shootings, of course, right? Because that pulls on all of our emotions, our heartstrings. Nobody wants to see our children injured or hurt. But the fact of the matter is there are a significant amount of active killing events that actually do occur all across the US frequently, and a lot more frequent than people know about. It's just the ones that draw more. So here you are, 242 over that period of time. Location of attacks, a lot of people don't realize, but more than 50% of all active killing events occur in commerce at the workplace. Now, news would have you believe that it's only at the educational level, it's only in schools, right? But the fact of the matter is it more than half is occurring at commerce, at the workplace. Attacker connection. So 55% there's none, and 55 there is connection, and 45 no. So especially obviously you look at the workplace, this could be an upset employee, maybe somebody who was let go and fired, maybe somebody who didn't get a promotion they were looking for. Hopefully, if they're that unstable over the promotion issue, there were some identifiers way prior to that to let you know this person is unstable. But sometimes, they come in and they they go after the workplace, and it's because they know who they are. I can't think of too many times I've heard of, and I'm sure it's existed, but I can't think of any that have been in the news where it was workplace related violence and the person that showed up and did it had no connection at all to somebody or something to do with that workplace. There's almost always some sort of connection, especially in the workplace, and obviously at a school, there's always a connection. Okay, so UC Santa Barbara, California, okay. Orlando, Florida. You guys remember the Pulse nightclub? These are all places where there's active shooting events. A huge body count at the Pulse nightclub. Las Vegas, Nevada. That was an outside event, right? Not school related, not workplace related, but this was a guy who rented a hotel room, had a corner room where he had 2 sets of windows he could shoot out of, and was shooting over top of a highway down onto a concert, and got a significant amount of injured and dead as a result of this. I got New York City, Sutherland Springs, Texas. This is the one where the guy came in shooting. I believe the residents seen him do it. They chased him down with their own AR-15, and he's no longer got able to hurt anybody now. He's moved on to other spiritual things. So number of deaths. Okay, it's directly related to how quickly police can arrive, target availability. Okay, so those of you living in Orrville, Worcester City, Dalton, places that have their own police departments directly in their jurisdictions, I would say if you have units that are on, of course, Orrville does have units that are on. I would say 3 minutes is pretty quick. 3 to 5 minutes would be a response time to an active shooter. I'd say within about 7 to 10 minutes, you're going to have a significant amount of people approaching. Now in the county, where our units are spread out pretty far, or could be very far, or could be very close, it's really kind of luck of the draw. That 3 minutes really is not realistic. The call would come in, it would get dispatched. 3 minutes response time is not realistic. Really, even as a big city, it's not realistic. So disaster response. Okay, this is the background science of how people behave in high stress and events. Everybody responds like this. So there's 3 stages of disaster response, and it could be either it's a natural disaster, it could be an active killing event, could be a car crash. Okay, anything traumatic that happens to you. All these things will provide true. Okay, you'll have a denial that it's even happening. That this is not occurring. This isn't an active shooter. Nobody's really at my place of business actively shooting. Jimmy that I've known for 10 years, he would not come in and do this. This is what happens in your psyche. Okay, then once that passes, you're going to have a deliberation moment. Okay, this is where you have to start making kind of some decisions. Okay, and figure out what you're going to do: run, hide, flight, fight, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to have your decisive moment. Okay, these are three stages that will always occur. Okay, and how you prepare for any kind of mass event like this will determine how quickly you get to that last part where the decisive moment. That decisive moment is what will most likely keep you alive and seeing your family when this is all done and over with. How quickly you can get to that moment is what's important. Okay. This is very true here. Okay, so we got Now you'll start seeing everybody kind of start to move in. People that wanted to help. Okay, so deliberation. So you got your human brain and you got your lizard brain. Okay, we want to try to keep you working in the human brain, but unfortunately, when your heart rate gets to an elevated level and you get scared and you got a lot of outside stimuli coming in that is getting into your thought process, unfortunately, we tend to revert back to our lizard brain. Okay, your human brain, fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, lizard brain literally will just make you react to the stimuli. Okay, so here are your stress responses. The black is where you never want to be. When you get to the 175 beats per minute or higher, it's bad. Okay, you have all kinds of issues that will start happening with you in your body and in your responses. When you get to that black, you can start having you get loss of bladder. You can that's where you literally get to the freeze moment where you just lose all ability to think. That's literally the lizard brain. Now, you are involved in a high stress situation like an active shooting or an active killing event. You're only human. You will get to the black. You'll get there. The part of this training today will help you understand that that is a natural event that will happen. I'm not saying anybody in this webinar here is going to lose their bladder. I'm just saying these are side effects that can happen from that. The purpose of it is to help you understand that bad things are going to happen physically with you as a response to the emotional trauma you're receiving and maybe sometimes physical trauma, but you can work through these and you can delay these longer so that you can get away from the area and maybe prevent yourself from getting into the black. Okay, some of that heart rate increase you really want. Okay, you really want that it'll keep you on edge, it'll keep you going strong. So here we have stress response here. Let's see here. Look at all these people are all just running around like ants. They don't know what they're doing. No idea. Okay, there was an active killing event occurring at another part of this store, but they're all just running around. They don't have a plan. They don't have any idea what they're going to do next. They're just kind of, they're not quite to that decisive moment, and they're kind of in deliberation a little bit, but not getting it done. Okay, so this here was the Pulse nightclub. Okay, so here's a layout of the floor right here. Up here, so there was a band that was playing. It was Whitesnake, if I remember any of our 80s fans here are listening today. They were putting on a live thing. They had a pyrotechnic show going on, and what that did is it actually ignited some curtains in the back of the stage. What had eventually happened was the crowd had fled from the stage, and I'm hoping you guys can see my mouse pointer, but they came right here to this entrance hall where the number one is, and they all got piled into this doorway right here. Okay, and a lot of them could not get out of this doorway. They created a bottleneck. Okay, there was quite a few people that died from this event, and there is an exit here by number 2, an exit here by number 3. But when they all came into the nightclub, they all came in here, right? So their lizard brains, when this happened, kicked in, and they thought, oh, well, hey, let's go out here. It's double doors. There was even an exit right here, right by the event, right by where the fire happened, or they could have got outside. There's a pool hall right here with all kinds of this shiny stuff that you can see through that we all know is glass, right? You can throw stuff and make a big hole and climb right out of it. None of that was done. And there were actually people that were found deceased in this area because they couldn't get out of the club and they couldn't think past their lizard brain. Here's the video. Or not Paul, Station nightclub, my apologies. So the stage is on fire. People are kind of sitting there. Now they're like, oh, okay, they're past denial. People are pointing to go out. When it starts to fill with smoke, panic is going to set in. Okay, so here's that same club, okay? Right here in the entranceway, 31 people died. Over here in the pool hall, we had 18. 9 right here in this open foyer. We had people that were in the bathrooms, presumably doing what you do when you're in there. So it's, you know, understandable. They were probably not aware what was going on. Smoke filled the area, and the black smoke, it doesn't take long to render you unconscious. But back here in the kitchen area, we had 9 and another 10 back here. Okay, all these people perished, okay, within the club that night. Again, 18 people right here. And you have cue sticks, cue balls, pool balls, all that can break these windows. And they could have gotten out right here, 6 windows, and they could have gotten out and saved themselves. So deliberation moment. Okay, you got to try to calm yourself. I know it's the worst thing somebody can tell you when you're in a high stress situation is calm down, right? Because the last thing you want to do is calm down, but you really do. You need to take some deep breaths, shift your emotion. So what's that mean? Get mad, okay? Especially in an active killing event. Get mad because whatever's trying to kill you is trying to separate you from your family, okay? Trying to harm you permanently, okay? So maybe a little bit of anger might keep you focused on the task at hand, okay? You don't want to shift your emotion to fear, even though obviously you're going to be afraid, but you don't need it. You can't let it control you. And then any ability to stay fit, okay, will help you with your cardio, help you keep that heart rate lower longer. It's going to increase, okay, because the stress doesn't go away until you get out of the area, right? Or until maybe there's a good guy with a gun takes out bad guy with a gun type situation, okay? Or you're out of whatever the dangerous situation you happen to find yourself in. So the deliberation part, script and practice, okay? So something that I do when I go anywhere public, okay? When I go to a restaurant, you'll see this actually with a lot of cops. But when I go in, my eyes are already peering. When I walk in and I'm going to Longhorn, I'm going with my family. I walk in, first thing I'm doing is scanning. I'm scanning the bar area right there by the doors. I'm scanning the area towards the back of the restaurant. I'm looking for exits that are clearly labeled, and I'm looking for anybody that may not like me because of maybe I put a case on them, or somebody that I know through my investigations as being, less than stellar, I should say. Okay, so I think about all these things. Okay, and then I also am looking at these exits. I'm looking for windows. I'm thinking for escape routes. I do all this in just a matter of a minute. Okay. If you do it enough, it really becomes second nature, and you stop telling yourself that you're paranoid. Okay, trust me. All right, but it has a reason behind it. Okay, because we always resort to our lowest level of training whenever we are put under a high amount of stress. Okay, so like those people at that nightclub, most all of them came in through those double front doors, right? And most of us don't exit and enter establishments by breaking windows, right? So their thought process, they come in, that's how they knew to get in and get out of that establishment. So when that caught on fire and started filling with smoke, immediately their brain told them, you came in those double doors, let's go out of those double doors. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to script yourself with a different avenue of egress. Okay. So that's why you need to have a script anywhere you go. I don't care if you go to Walmart, if you go to Lowe's, when you walk in, take a look at where exits are at, realize to yourself, but it takes a second. Okay, I'm back here in the lawn and garden. If somebody starts shooting at the registers, do I have somewhere I can exit right now from here? Okay, if something goes on, if the building, if the ceiling starts to collapse, where can I go to get out of here right now? Can I grab my significant other? Can I grab my children? Can I grab that drill that's on sale and still get out of here before the ceiling collapses on me? Okay, it takes a second to do those kind of things, and it could very well save your life. Okay, and then not necessarily practice it like at Lowe's. I mean, I wouldn't do that kind of extreme stuff there. Okay, but scripting it through would work. Practicing these things like in your own home. If somebody were to try to break through your front door or they were in your home and say they were upstairs, do you have another way of getting out of your home without confronting this subject if you don't have the means to defend yourself readily available? That's where practicing that can really come in handy. So this guy right here is a hero. This Rick Rescorla is a name that most people will never know. And he was in charge of like security and risk management. Okay. And in 1993, he was responsible for getting a lot of people out of the World Trade Center when it was bombed in 93. And he always believed that there would be another terrorist type attack on that building. He even believed it would be done using planes, ironically. And he had actually put a request into his corporate that having their offices inside the World Trade Center was just dangerous. And he had found another set of office buildings over on the Jersey side of New York, over there in Jersey, that was suitable. About 400 grand, I think it would cost them to buy the building space and move the whole company over there. But of course, where did everybody in corporate America want to be anybody? You wanted to be in the World Trade Center. So when the planes struck the towers, he was prepared, because what he did was he would pretty frequently run drills with the employees that he was in charge of for their safety and have them going up and down the stairwells, okay, to exit the building. Well, when the fateful day hit, he was credited with saving over 2,700 lives that day before his life was taken, going back into the tower to try to get more employees out. He was able to save that many people because he had a plan and he stuck to his plan, and it wasn't the best plan, right? He wanted something different, and he was kind of, told, no, we're not going to do this. We're staying where they're at. So instead of just giving up and saying, well, if you don't care, I don't care, he continued to push through and said, well, then this is what we're going to do. And there's 2,700 people that get to still be with their families today because of a decision that he made. And again, he lost his life going back in, trying to get more. So you guys remember this? This was the one they made the movie out of, 310 to, what was it called? Yuma, 310 to Yuma. Yeah, maybe I got it wrong. I'm not a movie buff. It's a guy that was on a train with an AK-47. It's his three lifelong buddies sacrificed themselves and were able to disarm this guy. Scary thing to go after a man with an AK-47, and his weapon actually jammed or failed to fire when he raised it. As a guy who's owned an AK-47, those things will run nonstop, and it's amazing that it failed at the moment they made their decisive moment. Okay, so your civilian response. Okay, you hear the gunshots, go to deliberation. Okay, you'll hear in active shooting events, people will say it sounded like firecrackers were going off, like somebody was lighting firecrackers. You have to think to yourself, okay, I'm at the Orrville Chamber of Commerce building. Do people normally light firecrackers off here? No, they probably do not, right? So when you hear that sound, it's probably gunshots. Okay. If it sounds like gunshots and you're in an area where gunshots are not heard, don't go into denial. Okay. It is what it is. Go to deliberation. Start making your decisions of what you're going to do. Are you going to stay put? Okay. Are you going to avoid? Are you going to deny? Or are you going to defend? Okay. And we'll get into that acronym here shortly. Okay. Playing dead. Playing dead does not work. This is Virginia Tech.
So Mike, I'm not hearing your audio.
When I'm talking, you're not hearing it?
I can hear you talking. I can't hear the video.
Oh. I have no idea how to turn that on. Okay, here, we'll do this. Okay. Okay, so to go over that video, I'm sorry, I wasn't aware you were able to hear that audio or video, whatever. She was a young lady that was at Virginia Tech, and she was shot multiple times. Actually, she was shot once or twice initially. The guy came back and even shot her again. I think 3 total times she was shot. And she survived, obviously, she's in the video. But the shooter at Virginia Tech, same thing. He wanted to have the highest body count. It was, I want to believe it was like 38 that he had killed there. He chained the doors and such, but he was going in and out of classrooms, and the students could hear the gunshots. Now, again, gunshots are not something that you hear at a school. Firecrackers aren't something you hear in your hall where you're taking your classes, right? So some of the teachers barricaded their doors, and he began firing through these doors. And the one class, which was the last one he got to, there was 4 rooms that he had entered. When he got to this other room, nobody died in that class because they were able to barricade that door, and they actually started evacuating from Norris Hall where this was occurring. There was another room where he was able to kind of get entry in there, and he actually shot a few of the students as they were trying to get out. But the first 2 rooms that he had gone to had a significantly high body count in them because he continued to come in and he continued to shoot people. Now, this particular shooter, when they found where he had where his little apartment was at and where he trained and did his shooting, he actually had targets that were laying horizontal, similar to how this guy is pictured here, hiding under his desk, because he knew people would be hiding under desks. So he actually trained to shoot people that were in that kind of a horizontal position, either laying down on their side or crouched down like that. Hide and hope does not work. It doesn't. Okay. If it's all you got, then it's all you got. But, moving targets are harder to hit. Regardless of what you may see on the movies, When you're using a handgun, it's not as easy with accuracy. There's a lot that comes into play to be effective with a pistol. And a pistol is a very crude killing weapon. You can still be struck with a pistol and still survive pretty easily, ironically, depending on where you're hit, but you still have a fighting chance. If you hide and you hope, you will probably not survive the event if the gunman gets in there. Okay, so deliberation. So you have avoid, deny, defend. So ADD. So some of your Fortune 500 companies, you're looking at like your Walmarts, Lowe's, you might see this ADD acronym on their doorway. This is what they teach their employees. Okay, so in any kind of a situation with an active killing event, avoid, deny, defend. It's a lot easier to remember than Alice, and it's in this is at least in the correct order. Any of you that have had Alice training. So avoid a run. So right, easiest way to avoid any kind of fight, right, to not be involved in a fight is to leave the area, right? Well, same thing happens with a killing event. If you find yourself in one side of the building and you personally have a belief in yourself, you know your abilities, do not think that you are willing to get involved in stopping whatever that is, then you need to avoid the situation, run. That means get out of there, go away, right? The next situation would be is if you cannot avoid and you're stuck, deny and hide. So if you're able to deny the killer access to your location and hide, then you do that. That's barricading doors, locking doors, turning lights off, right? If you're in a situation where you cannot run, then all you have to do is deny, right? Deny and hide. And last, of course, it would be defend and fight, okay? So if the subject is making his way through your denial area or where you're hiding, or even if you're avoiding running and you come right into contact with them, you may have to defend and fight for your life. And that is, I mean, use any means necessary. You know, people are worried about using deadly force. Well, what if I use my pen for deadly force? Deadly force is deadly force. You can't kill anybody more than death, right? So any means necessary for you to defend yourself, to get back to your family, you need to try to have access to, which means, remember we went back earlier, we were talking about having a plan, okay? Having like a blueprint of what you want to do. Well, that also means when you may have to defend and fight. So when you go into a room, you go into an area and you think, okay, now, again, I'm at Lowe's, I'm over in lawn and garden. Shooting takes place right at the lawn and garden place. They come in from the outside. I'm right here in it. What around me do I have available to me to use as a weapon or some sort of means of denying this person entrance or access to me? Okay, again, when you get in the practice of doing this, it's very easy. Any of the ladies in the webinar today that have children, right? When your mama bear instincts kick in, that's all I'm asking you to do. When that stuff kicks in and you start to get a feeling of somebody that's a little not quite on the level, or you start seeing potential dangerous situations where your little one might get hurt, you step in, right? You circumvent the situation before it becomes a situation. This is all you have to do for this. You've already been doing it. You just gotta realize it and apply it to an active killing event. Okay, so avoid run, situational awareness. So take a look. This was like a school board meeting, and the guy that came in here with a gun, his wife was terminated for violating policy and such. Well, he figured he's going to come in and he was basically going to execute the school board. This gentleman pictured here was the superintendent. So because the audio is not working for you guys, he comes in and everybody just basically looks at him. He walks up to the wall and he spray paints a red B and circles it on the wall. Well, that's kind of the first identifier that, okay, something is definitely not right here, right? Who does that? Then he pulls out a handgun and everybody else is just sitting there. Okay, so there's a man that spray painted a V on the wall, V for vendetta, and then he displays a handgun. Okay, so everybody in the audience is just sitting there like, what in the world? Well, at one point, he even lets some of the people leave. So they leave, and one lady up on the board, she takes her purse and swings at his gun and does not succeed, but he doesn't shoot her, lets her leave. And then eventually a security guard shows up and pokes in and says, do you have a gun? And he's like, yep. And he leaves because he wasn't allowed to have a gun in there, because why would you want a security guard to have a gun that is allowed to carry a gun? So he goes out to his car, gets his gun, comes back in and ends the threat. but that's not before he already took a couple shots at the superintendent at nearly point blank range and still missed him. And then this guy was shot and opened fire on the panel, but it was striking the like over their head into the ceiling because he was already on the ground, and then he died of his wounds. So this is and the gunman was a guy who was not allowed to have a gun. He was under disability and by law not permitted to own or possess a firearm. But as you see, it did not stop him, or would see if it played right. We get past that. Okay, avoid and run. You know, leave as soon as possible. Okay, if you wait until the danger is right in front of you, you've lost your opportunity to avoid and run. I think we can all agree. Know your exits. Obviously, call 911. There will be no shortage of people doing that if you are in a public place, for sure. But know your exits. Know where you can go. Okay, only takes a second to learn these things. Keep forgetting you guys don't have the audio. So this is consider secondary exits. So there was an active shooter that occurred, and there's a doorway right here you can go out of. Okay, and these people were hiding here, literally hiding here. There's a ladder way to get to the roof. Okay, and there was a way to get out. Okay, and this right here was another, like a dumbwaiter, I think is what it was. Okay, and they just sat there. Okay, so deny and hide. Okay, lock the door, turn out the lights, stay out of sight. You have to be prepared for the attacker to kick, strike, even shoot the doorway. So you have to be prepared for that. And you obviously don't want to scream and let them know that you are in that area. Obviously easier said than done from me sitting here in this safety of the Justice Center, but you're going to have to fight that urge. Okay, and that's one of these things that you need to script with yourself and say, okay, I've got to be able to do this. Okay, deny, hide. So barricade. Okay, obviously the heavier the better, more the better. And if you got a door stop, even better. Okay, something to stop that door from coming in. You pack all that stuff in there. The more time that they waste trying to get into your area, and you can deny them that access, they're not killing people, right? They're not hurting you. They're not hurting your coworkers, any of your family, and they're wasting time because they also know or suspect that they only have 3 minutes before cops arrive. Okay, it could be 7 minutes before cops arrive. Most of these active killing events are over and done before law enforcement ever shows up. And I know we see on TV, you know, everybody's got their SWAT gear, they're throwing their leg holsters on and racking their AR-15s and, you know, and got their throat mics on and they're ready to go. Well, it's already done. The killing is done. Bad guy is either apprehended or dead himself. Now it's just a secondary search to make sure there's nobody else hiding that means to do harm, or there are no like improvised explosive type devices. But the reality of it is whatever the event was, it is over by the time SWAT guys and a majority of the cavalry arrives. Okay, here's more denial and type things you can use to barricade the doorway there. Something right here is a simple door stop. It's made out of rubber. You can get them anywhere. You pick them up at Staples, and they work. You know, get one jamming your door when you're trying to pull it shut, and you'll notice you can't move the door, right? So these kind of things are very helpful, assuming you have an opening in doorway. Okay, outward opening ropes and tension sleeves. This is a lot of your commercial areas, your schools. You could put your belt on there, put it around that door handle and pull to the side and try to deny them that way. You could hook these straps up with a simple eyelet on the side of the wall into a wooden stud or a steel member there. And then that way, when they pull on that, there's no tension there. Or the tension is taken out and they can't get that door open. Again, they're wasting time. They want a death count. So they're going to leave you and go on to where maybe somebody wasn't as prepared, unfortunately, but that is not something that you personally can control. There's another item that can be done. You could spend a few dollars on some things with a little bit of ingenuity, or you can go to, if you just go to Amazon or Google and look for denial devices, active shooter denial, you'll see there's a plethora of stuff that you can get and you can spend significant amount of money, or you can just do a few simple things to be done. Okay, so here's you'll see this little snippet there in the picture there. This is obviously an active shooter training type thing. This guy's coming in, he's presenting his gun first thing through the door, right? So you find yourself in that situation, you can control that weapon as long as you control that muzzle. May he fire it? Yes, he may. Okay, and is it going to be loud? About 172 decibels. It sure will, and your ears are going to ring. It's going to suck, right? But the business end of that shotgun is the only part that'll kill you, right? So he comes through with the barrel. You can just grab that barrel and make sure you control it. Okay, and this is when you want to decide that you're going to go from a denial hide to a defend. Okay, so positioning, grab the gun, fight, shift motions. Okay. I don't know if this one has audio. This one has no audio. So this is an active shooter situation going on right now, or active killing event. This guy's grabbing a wine bottle, see what he's doing? He's arming himself. He's like, well, here we go. Okay, so these people up there at the top, see, they're all bunched together right there. One guy's playing dead right now, laying down. So you'll see all kinds of different emotions being carried out by people, and how they act and react. This Lieutenant Murphy was the one that responded to the sick, I don't know what they call it there, shrine, or you know, the guy had the rifle was open fire on him. He was shot multiple times, struck in the neck. I believe he was shot 13 times, and he survived. He continued to fight through being hit, despite the rookie that was responding. Instead of trying to put the cruiser between the lieutenant and the active killer, he actually just backed away with his cruiser, because the guy was firing on him from a couple 100 yards out. So not probably how I would have done it. I wouldn't have let my fellow officer, or civilian for that matter, who's still alive, lay there and continue to take rounds. I would have probably tried to put a whole lot of metal between me and them. But this is about, you know, don't give up. Surroundings: avoid, run, deny, hide, defend, fight. Okay, avoid, deny, defend. If there's anything you take away from today, folks, remember that. Okay, ADD: avoid, deny, defend. What you do matters. Okay. See, very easy flow chart. Here's Virginia Tech. Here's Norris Hall, where the shooting took place with the young lady that you heard talking earlier. Here's the second floor. This is the rooms here where the shooting took place. Okay, so these are the room numbers right here, not the body counts, but these are the room numbers. Okay, so the red you're seeing here are people that were dead. Yellow are people that were shot and injured, and green are people who were not shot. Look at all of them in 211. 211 is where that young lady was at that you heard. Obviously, you didn't hear her speaking, that I was talking about, where she was at Virginia Tech. Okay, and then room 204. 204 sees there's one a dead person there at the door and one inside the door. 204, the professor of that room was actually a World War II death camp survivor. He was in Auschwitz, and he survived that and literally blocked this door with his body. And the bullets penetrated through the door, through him, and actually struck this other student in here, killing the student. But he was the denial to this room. He put his body against it while his students were able to get out of this window and climb down to safety. And he sacrificed himself. All these students right here survived. These students here were all shot, but they survived as well. But they were injured with bullet fire. This room here was barricaded up. He never got access to this room, ever got in there. Nobody in here was harmed. Everybody in there survived, okay? Because they had time to do the denial, right? So these rooms down here, these were chained shut. These doors, there's door here at the end of the hallway, they were secured with chains. So if they would have ran to the hallway, this would have been a kill a kill tunnel right here. Okay, they would have never got out alive because it was chained shut. But they barricaded this, put all their desks in front of the door, piled it up. He did not waste time trying to get in here. Okay, so he went back to these rooms and came back in multiple times and began killing. Here's just another graph of the same thing that we just saw. Of course, 205 showed no deaths, no shot. And then you have here 206, 211, and so on. When the police arrive, these are some things you need to be aware of, okay? You have to follow commands. Remember the school board I talked about? Here's that V that guy spray painted on the wall, and here's his body down here. So you see these folks have their hands on their heads, right? When law enforcement arrives, we do not know, okay, responding, who the bad guy is, right? We may have an idea, we may have a description, but you got to remember the description we're getting is from people who are calling it in, who may have seen it or may have only heard it, but may not know all of the facts, right? So you have to follow commands, okay? Show your palms, right? We know as law enforcement, hands are what kill. Show us your hands. Show us you don't have anything that's going to hurt us. And definitely do not pick up the active shooter's gun if he took his own life. Let it lay where it's at. Guns do not go off by themselves, regardless of what you may or may not have heard about guns. They require somebody to pull the trigger. If the guy's dead, the gun's there, leave it be. Don't touch it, okay? And most importantly, do not move. Don't make any furtive movements. The police will give you commands. They'll tell you what they need you to do. Because really, you as a victim civilian immediately are not our concern. Our concern, one, is to stop the killing. We have to stop the killing first. Okay. Once we've done that, now we switch gears to saving lives. We have got to start rendering aid that we can to those who've already been injured, if we can. Okay. So the sooner we can guarantee that we've stopped killing, we can get to the life saving. Okay. And it's a hard thing for us to do, is to step over and move by people who have been injured, who are maybe bleeding out. It is very hard for us to do, but we have to stop. We have to stop the murdering. Okay. Here it is. Here's our focus. Stop the killing, stop the dying, evacuate the injured. Okay. You won't be able to hear that. It was just a video showing basically a police response. Medical. Okay, there will be a training and there will be an EMS delay. Okay, they will not come in until we can tell them that the scene is safe. Okay, so again, the people who are there on scene, the victims, okay, the traumatic, the people who are suffering trauma, the easier they can allow us to do our job and listen to us, the quicker we can get the EMS in there and rendering advanced medical care. Okay. So Stop the Bleed is a great program. We actually benefited from that here very recently at the sheriff's office. We now have Stop the Bleed bags that are in our cruisers. We have the ability to medically treat up to 5 gunshot victims per car. So our bag has 5 total kits inside that we can carry in. I have additional myself that I've collected over my career, be it my time on SWAT or just patrol before I became a detective. I probably have, oh my gosh, 6 or 7 tourniquets myself that I've personally bought and owned. Compressions. A lot of us deputies here for quite a while purchased our own stuff as it became available, and as we became trained on it from various trainings that we would have gone to. We now have the Stop the Bleed, and it's a great program. We have these same kits that are similar kits like these in our schools all throughout Wayne County, and they're in every classroom. I think every classroom has one Stop the Bleed kit in it. And it just consists of a tourniquet, some pressure bandages, hyphen chest seals for in case there's a thoracic gunshot wound, so that they can continue to breathe and continue, put the pressure back in your chest so you can breathe and get air. And all this is just emergency stuff until the guys that really know what they're doing get in there from the EMS and squad personnel. There's going to be a lot of mental trauma. This is for you business managers and all that are in this webinar. There will be mental trauma from this. Your employees will be have traumatic issues. They will need access to counseling and people to speak with in regards to this. That's without a fact going to occur. And as you notice throughout this entire webinar, I have not told you a name of any of the murderers that have done this. That is on purpose. I know all their names. I know their stuff intimately, but if you give them a name, you give them power. And these guys were cowards in their life, and they can remain cowards now, while they, spend their afterlife wherever they end up going. So that's why we don't name them here in this. They don't deserve it. The heroes are who need to be named. The survivors are who need to be remembered. Okay, so probably nobody in here could tell me who this lady is, right? But she was a school teacher, okay, and she was Sandy Hook. She shielded her students with her body. That teacher did when I almost said his name, but when the killer came in with his mom's AR-15 and murdered her 5- and 6-year-olds. She actually put herself between his rifle and them and did what she could do to survive. Here's another hero, Angela Mcqueen. Okay, she's another teacher that put herself between an active killer, trying to shield her students from being killed, and made the ultimate sacrifice. Okay, so everything that I kind of went over today, and I did it in a very fast. Oh my gosh, I'm right on. I did an hour and 40 minutes here. So, but everything you learned here today can be applied for any emergency situation, active killing event, or even a disaster response, tornadoes, earthquakes, hurricanes, anything that's traumatic occurring to you that's life-threatening. You can use these things. You can teach them to your children, teach them to your family, and please teach them to your coworkers. And any of you that at your respective businesses that you may manage or work for, I'm more than happy to come and do this presentation to your staff. The sheriff's office, obviously, we do not charge for anything like that at all. We're happy to extend a hand and be helpful to all the members in our community. And that, I believe, is that.
Okay, Mike, I'm gonna ask that you stop sharing your screen.
Okay, how do I do that? Can I just X out of that, or is that how that?
You should be able to, or I can just.
I don't know. My goodness. I can't get this thing to drop down. Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. So thank you so much, Detective Burkey. We appreciate your time with us today. Important reminders on a very serious topic that can impact any of us at any time. So very important information for us to have a refresher on. And as he mentioned, if any of you are interested in having a presentation done at your workplace, please feel free to reach out and give him a call to get that scheduled. So I want to let you know that our February 9th webinar topic will be on environmental metrics, how to improve the bottom line costs and top line value. So it's a focus on reducing your environmental footprint in 2022. Keith Gaidosh from Affinity Consultants will be with us to share his insights on that. So I also wanted to remind you that Ohio Safety Congress registration is now open, and you can register for that. As always, it is a free conference. We'll be 100% virtual with lots of new interactive bells and whistles and things to make it an enjoyable time for us at the beginning of March. So make sure you check that out. So again, have a great January, stay safe and healthy, and we will see you again in February. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Take care.